hello, I welcome you to my next video. It's called Lost in Translation, but with a question mark. So I hope we will not be lost in translation after this video. But actually it's not merely about translating words, but rather explaining the context and also the concepts that frame my research project, because you need to know that actually to understand what it's about. So I'm happy to take you to this small journey. So as I said in my other video, translation is somewhat a research on its own actually, because you have to really reflect upon the specific context of your research project with respect to the educational system, the state regulations, and also the job market. So these are the aspects framing my PhD project actually. And on the other hand, the concepts you're relating to. So the concept of Bildung, actually it's a German term and can't really be translated, which is interesting. And also professionalization and pedagogy versus education are terms which are important for my research project and need some explanation. And as I said, these two sides are overlapping, so they are influencing each other. So let me tell you something about my context. So basically, I'm talking about study programs on a degree level. And in Germany, you have those which prepare for the job market and for people actually coming from high school, and they are free of charge. So you don't need anything to pay, but you need a high school diploma most of the time. And they usually have a broad thematic focus. And they are addressing classic students. So who's a classic student? Well, these are the people coming freshly from high school and are used to classic teaching methods, I would say. And this is especially true for degree programs at universities or even on the bachelor level, to be more concrete. So on the other hand, you have degree programs which are designed for the further development of skills. Well, they cost a lot, so they have to charge a fee because they have to finance themselves. They have most of the time a specific thematic focus, so they're really designed for a certain occupational field or even certain job positions. And they are addressing experienced workers, so with their experimental knowledge and also their desires and needs when studying. So the next context I'm referring to is the job market. So for my research context, it's the basic observation that you have groups of people with a high average income and a high demand for academic and further training. And on the other hand, you have groups of people who also have a high demand for further training in the academic context, but they have a low average income. So what happens? Those with a high average income, they can afford these specialized degree programs. So we have a lot of degree programs in the areas of medicine, lawyers, engineering. So they're really running excellent. So they are really working. But those with a low average income, which are, as you may be expecting, also the pedagogical or educational staff, they are really then going to the other study programs, because they can't afford the special programs. So this is a basic observation we have in Germany. I know that there are some changes on the way, so there's a lot of differentiation also on the upper level. So we have an increasing number of really specialized study programs also, which are not charged a fee. I've observed that, but the general observation is what you see here, still in Germany. So concepts, well, as I said, so Bildung, what's Bildung? It's a German term. In Germany, the new humanist approach is really central, which was founded by Wilhelm von Humboldt. Basically, it's a concept of Bildung is non-instrumental and also about the manifold development of all your skills and interests. So you're not instrumentalized in any ways. You're free to develop yourself, far away from any practical needs, so to say. And in some way, this concept still shapes the German educational system and also the higher education. Yeah, so you see these influences still, and they're really important in Germany. They're often discussed, yeah, whether they're good or not, but they're the topic here. The next concept is professionalization. So I'm recurring actually to Rudolf Stichweh, a sociologist, stating that universities are somewhat gatekeepers. Here we have the classic professions like lawyers and the context of medicine and maybe also engineering. So if you want, these study programs are really important to keep traditions and are gatekeepers. So who wants these jobs has to do these studies. And this is an historical observation he made. So in some way, it's not really, it's not a problem relating to the concept of Bildung, but as you see, actually also study programs in Germany never were really far away from practice. So you see that it's just another connotation. So professionalization can be seen in somewhat as an institutional professionalization. So as soon as you have study programs at universities, you also have the professionalization of a certain occupational field. Which leads us to the point of pedagogical professionalism. So what happened actually in the 1960s in West Germany, you had the implementation of pedagogical degree programs for the first time at universities. And this can be seen in some way as an institutional professionalization of this field. Yeah, you could study really pedagogy or educational sciences, which wasn't possible before. Which meant that actually, if you have a degree, which was Diplom, Erziehungswissenschaften, Diplom Pädagogik, you had a certain position. So actually what happened that there were really many discourses focusing really on the academically founded professional knowledge. So people were asking, why do we need these study programs? Yeah. So what's the worth? Yeah. What's the gain? And so pedagogical professionalism has then, from then on, always been seen also on the perspective of academically founded knowledge, which is really important for my research project. So synthesis, so we have context and concepts, and they're overlapping with respect to my PhD topic. This means, just to sum up, that charge-free degree courses at universities still tend to lack practical relevance. They are far away from practical everyday working. On the one hand, on the other hand, the specific degree courses for practitioners are pretty exclusive because they are really expensive, and also for certain occupational fields there aren't really programs because nobody can pay them. The next observation is that the implementation of degree programs in the field of pedagogy or educational sciences fostered the professionalization of this field. Yeah. And in this context, pedagogical professionalism was really seen as an integration of experiential, so your experience, your practical knowledge, and academic knowledge. So this differs in somewhat way to classic concepts of professionalism, which really focus on experiential and experiences and practical knowledge. So this is the context I'm coming from, which is related to the subject here and the study programs. So really to sum up, I think what is really interesting is that you have, the difference between theory and practice in higher education. So like what you learn is theory and what you have to do is practice, and how do they relate actually to each other in this specific context I'm researching. So let me do a last excursion. It's called Beyond Translation because we in Germany have many, many terms for pedagogy, education, and so on. It's not only Bildung, as you will see, and also we have discourses on the terms. So when I'm writing my papers in German, I often have to think, oh well, which term will I use now? And you will see them at some points, also in my English presentations and writings. So the one is Pädagogik, it's pedagogy to sum up, yeah, pretty well. So basically it's about raising and upbringing, so it's rather about children, child education, yeah. And it has a practical connotation, so it's doing something practical, at least in Germany. Then we have Erziehungswissenschaft or Erziehungswissenschaften. You see that there's even a plural, so there are several forms of Erziehungswissenschaft. Yeah. So my master and my bachelor was called Erziehungswissenschaften, so many ways of Erziehungswissenschaft or educational science. And what can you see? It's educational science, so you see that the science is there in the wording, so it's more academic in some way. But Erziehung is again somewhat raising and upbringing, so does it really match? I would say no, because I was only trained in adult education actually, so I've never learned about child education or anything else. But it's called still Erziehungswissenschaften. So that's why we have another term in Germany, it's Bildungswissenschaften, which is also translated as educational science. And you can see it's strongly referring to the concept of Bildung, which I think is more appropriate as well. So Bildung is a large concept and it's also appropriate for adult learners, for example. They don't have to be raised anymore. Yeah, they're grown up. And you have the science connotation as well. So I'm a lecturer at the Bachelor Bildungswissenschaft, so this is a new term. But most of the time in German we still say Erziehungswissenschaften or Pädagogik. So I hope this was some inspiration for you, maybe just also to look up some terms or really like, oh, well, what did I understand or maybe what was wrong. I think it's an interesting journey when you start to think about your topic also in other languages. Yeah, in my next presentation, I will talk in detail now about my project, which you'll maybe understand better if you had this little translation course before. Okay, see you.